Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Addy Ads, Adakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one. I have a very special guest here with me today, Mr. Darren Lee Jeffrey. I found Mr. Jeffrey actually via Mr. Wedger's channel, John Wedger, and Mr. Jeffrey hit me up, and I responded soon after to set up an interview. He is a very brave man. He's a victim of routine and ritualistic abuse, rape and sexual molestation as a child by clergymen and elites in the British establishment. Mr. Jeffrey has recently came out and spoken about his abusers on Mr. Wedger's channel. I highly recommend that people go and check it out. I will link it in the description actually afterwards.
Thank you.
But Mr. Jeffrey, thank you so
Yes, sir.
much again
Thank you.
for giving me this opportunity. And how are you doing this
I'm,
evening? Actually,
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Addy. I've had a good, I've had a good day, and time to kind of like been with a friend and time to relax. But you can call me Darren. Darren's fine.
okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
Darren. Appreciate it. Well,
Okay.
let's just start from the beginning, if that's okay,
Yeah,
Darren. Where were you born?
definitely. I was born in Bristol, in the United Kingdom, here in the UK. So
Okay,
I was born in 1969 in December. So I'm now 50.
okay.
Yeah.
And did you spend most of your time as a youth in Bristol, or did you move around quite a bit?
No, I spent all of my time in Bristol in the United Kingdom. Kind of went off a little bit now and again for a few months here and there, but always came back, to I suppose like home sort of thing, if you want to call it that. But yeah, always came back. Yeah,
Okay, cool. And
yeah,
let's instead of going chronologically, I just want to start with the most recent, uh, I guess, happenings that are going on, and maybe we can tie it into your story, Darren. Why are you
yeah.
coming out now, sir?
Um, just basically, all this sort of stuff for me happened 38 years ago. And the reason why I come out now is because I have one or two choices. I either join the friends that I lost and I take it to my grave, or I try and like help others come forward and share my story. And kind of you never put an end to SRA and child abuse. You really wouldn't. But you're always. I was always kind of like, I suppose I was always afraid years ago, and it was literally, it went for my, doctor recently when I went for an appointment, who kind of just told me to, you need to speak to someone, but you need to speak out. You need to try and, bring others forward that have been in your situation or, similar. And I don't know, it's come out now at 50 after this happened 38 years ago. I'll never find closure. I'd like to get justice for the friends that I've lost through SRA and the abuse that, they suffered. And with my friends, kind of, they took their life because it was that bad, sort of thing. But I just want to make people aware that you no need to do what I've done throughout my life. You can, it took me, well, I'd say 38 years to seek help, to kind of like literally
And
dig out the demon.
yeah, and SRA, for those that don't know, is the acronym for Satanic Ritual Abuse. Because I think there's some people that may not know that in my
Yeah.
audience. But so you stayed in Bristol, and
Yep.
what was your home life like as a youth?
Wow. So it was very, very hard. So basically, I was born, December the 27th, 1969. Um, my mum had just turned 13 when she had given birth to me, and I was born premature. I think I weighed under a pound. My mum's, body, she just had just turned a teenager, hadn't fully developed, so there was complications, and spent some time in hospital as a kid, in an incubator, and to hide the embarrassment, my mum sort of thing, my grandparents took me in from, I think it was like 3 or 4 months old until I was 9 years old. And I grew up with nanny and gramps thinking they were mum and dad, and that my mum and dad were my auntie and uncle. And the time I had with nanny and gramps was absolutely beautiful. It was, an amazing time. There was love, there was care, there was affection, there was food. It was just everything. It was like, a proper boy growing up. And kind of like, got told that, I'd be going to spend time with Auntie Ellen and Uncle Dave here and there. Then as it come closer, I was told that they were my parents, and that my nanny and granddad, who I thought were my parents, were just nanny and granddad. And it kind of seemed that within 2 to 3 weeks of everything coming out and blowing up, I was taken to live with my parents. And that's when, for me, just everything changed. It was, everything completely changed. I've come from this loving home where I had, I thought to, my parents' love and everything you could wish for, to be put into, I suppose, just a cesspit of, brutality. And this is my own life, my parents. This isn't somewhere else. Like I say, brutality. To see your mum be beat on a daily basis, myself getting beat, and it was just, it was unbearable. It was unbelievable. It kind of, I suppose you can put it lightly, it made the Manson family look normal, compared to my own life. And yeah, it was harsh. It's very, very harsh, Addy. It really was.
When did
And
you know that it was not a good situation? Did you realize that right away?
oh God, when I knew the situation was bad, was literally being moved in with mum and dad within about 2 days. Because what dad he did when he came to visit, at Nan's house, which was only for like, when he ever come around for money and stuff. He wasn't a different person. He was kind of like, he always had that horrible look in his eye. But it was kind of, within 2 days of seeing mum, go to bed with a normal complexion on her face, to waking up with, a cut in her head, because you could see it where she's had hair pulled out of her hair, or she, split on the lip, or and even though you couldn't see it, the attacks it rather into a moment in time. It was, when you wake up and or you'd be led in your bed, which is next door to my parents. Your mum screaming, your mum being thumped around the room, and that's when I knew that. I wasn't used to it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't come from that environment. I just been put into it. I've been put into literally a cesspit, just pure and utter sheer hell. It, then, after literally about 3 to 4 days of moving in, my dad would say to me that, when I was 3 years old, he'd say to me, when you were 3, you looked at me funny. And I think, oh, I can't remember, that was like 6 years ago. And you literally get the almightiest beating you've ever had, or you take it out on you for some strange reason that, because my dad was an alcoholic, he didn't work. He kind of lived off of, we lived off of benefits. Basically, whatever benefits came into the house, I'd say 3 quarters, if not more, had gone to dad for his alcohol and, his cigarettes. And, if, so, yeah, you would literally, there wasn't a day go by that I didn't see my mum get beat, or me get beat for the most silliest of things, or my 2 younger brothers. He could wake up. He could wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's had a good skinful the night before, and he'd come downstairs. You'd have to look at him the wrong way, because he's hungover. He's obviously looking for his next drink, and if it went in the house, which it generally wasn't, then we all paid the price. Mum would offer him a cup of tea to just try and calm him down. 10 out of 10, she wore a cup of tea. You could, I've seen her before when she was trying to rub her face, where she's been scalded by, the tea that, dad threw at her. But as a child at 9, you're gonna be inquisitive. You're gonna go in and say, well, the problem is with your mum. I'm looking out for the lady. And then it would just literally, he would turn his anger on myself, on my brothers, and I suppose because he had drank whatever he had in the house the night prior, and it was just, like I say, it was just awful times, Addy. Awful, awful, awful times, mate.
And how are things at school? Did you switch schools a lot?
Oh, well. Yeah, no, I switched 3 schools. So I switched to school with my when I lived with my grandparents. I did switch to school there, and I switched to school to when I moved with mum and dad. I had to switch another school, even though it wasn't too far. It was kind of like I had no one to take me, and I suppose we called it, like here in the UK, we called it primary school. I suppose, like, some call it kindergarten or something. We call it, to us it was primary school, and I think I did about a year in that primary school, and then I went up to what we call senior school. And as you can imagine, when you've gone up to senior school, you're this lad that has come from a home that is really, 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 very, very volatile. I've gone to school covered in welts, you know, um, literally beat black and blue basically. And so I started this new school, been there a couple of months, to kind of like, I don't know, to protect myself. I've kind of got myself into a few fights with different kids, and we got put into a unit whilst in the bigger school, and it was called a rescue unit. Generally small classes for like disruptive kids, and it was, there at that time in the rescue unit that like hell, which, like, I thought home life was bad, but it was like then that I realised that home life wasn't that bad at all, you know. So yeah, and I had there's no big secret. I had a art teacher who's now in prison for child sex abuse cases, called Christopher Flavin, and he would always try and like befriend me because I had a passion for art, for drawing, and he would always come, bring himself a bit close while looking at my artwork and stuff, and kind of like ask me things about home life and ask me what was going on at home while I was, while I was causing trouble at school. And I just said that home life's terrible. I'm always going home to mum being beaten in a heap on the floor. We got home to no food, just going home to sheer hell. And he basically realised that what I said about myself up is to be vulnerable, and that in school all I'm trying to do is protect myself from being it because I'm getting enough of that at home. And he was right for a little bit, he kind of like paid me a lot of respect for my drawing and asked me about stuff. And it was once that I drew this vase with a bunch of flowers, and he asked me, why I did that. I said, 'cause, my mum had my mum had never had flowers, and it was like I drew it for mum, and it was like I drew it because it was something we never had in the house. We never had, like, if we were to have an ornament, well, it wouldn't be for flowers, it would be for mum, another weapon for dad to attack mum with. So, I used to draw things that I missed at home that I wish we had. And again, he built my confidence like up and kind of like paid me like good, I suppose, I don't know what you call it really. Yeah, he kind of groomed me. He kind of built my confidence up to, oh God, it's kind of hard. Basically, what he done, he took me under his wing, he groomed me, and would now and again caress my hair or rub the back of my leg, and tell me that was a good lad and that things would be okay, and he was there for me if I ever needed someone. So I'm a bit concerned because, like, I've got this teacher that all of a sudden I'm in a class with 3 kids, and he's getting rid of these 2 kids, and he's just keeping me in it. It wasn't a big class, it was like a small class, and he was kind of like, now and again bring like a packed lunch in for me, and it was like weird, and like an idiot, I took to it, and I took the sandwich or the biscuit he gave me, unaware that come with that he wanted more. And as the compliments became like quite frequent in a day, that I was there one day. Well, I can never forget I never forget the first, second, or fourth, or the 10th time it happened. You never do. He, I remember him coming in really, really close and pushing all his weight and pushing himself into the back of me as I was on the chair. And as I did, he kind of went down. He picked me up and just literally put me over the table, and obviously had his hands and stuff, down my trousers, and was, you know, doing things to me. And, the next thing I knew, he had his, penis inside of me, and it just completely destroyed me. And it was horrible. It was horrible, horrible. It was horrible. It was an horrible feeling. I didn't know what was going on. I was just so confused. I'm going home every night to my mum being beat. I'm in school now, like being abused by a teacher. And he knew I had nowhere to run. He knew I had no one to turn to. I couldn't go home and tell mum because she was always in a lot of pain, or trying to like just put on a brave face for myself and my 3 brothers. I couldn't tell dad because, one, I didn't want to be it anymore at home, and two, I just didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do. Just couldn't go near my dad to say, look, this is happening at school. I've got a teacher that he's doing things to me. It just wasn't that case. And then all the time, Mr. Flavin just wouldn't take no for an answer. He wouldn't take no. You know, even if you said no, he wouldn't listen. That was it. No wasn't an option for him. Because he knew I had no one to turn to. He knew that being in a special unit of kids that played up, that strangely enough, that as kids come in, they would be sent back to their classroom more or less in 2-3 hours. Where he said I was to be kept there, and for his reason and his purpose only. That was the start of the very, very, very long road of what I was to endure for quite a long time in my life. And it was whilst at school that I just couldn't cope anymore. I couldn't cope. I was a young lad. I'd just gone into 11 years old. You don't know what's going on, do you? When you're a young boy, you're getting abused by a teacher. You're having to go home and put toilet paper up your backside to stop the blood. I just had no one to talk to, no one to turn to. I couldn't even go to my grandparents because Dad had banned us from going to Nan's house because of what he'd done to us. He didn't want Nan and Gramps or anybody seeing, physical, the abuse he caused to me and my brothers and Mum. So, and it was my fault really for telling the teacher everything that was going on at home. And he did ask me that, did I have people that I could talk to about things if things were to go wrong and stuff? And I said, no, regret it. I should have said, yeah, and lied. But you're not allowed to lie, are you? You can't lie. I won't lie, and I can't. So, yeah, that was kind of like Addy. That was, my, first year in school, of senior school. And as the abuse continued, it kind of affected me that, I didn't know when it was coming. I didn't get it every day. If I did, I'd be lying. I didn't get it every day, but I was guaranteed I can get it 2-3 times a week from a teacher. On a bad week, it depended on how he felt. You could have it 4 times, but, or it's going to sound silly, but for me, on a good week, you'd be getting raped twice a week. And it was very, very, very forceful and very, very painful as well. It was horrible because I knew that the teacher shouldn't be doing that. But it was kind of like with Mr. Flavin, just had no control, mate. You just couldn't tell him. If you told him to stop, he wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop, and it was horrible. And again, he was a very, very clever man because of where our classroom was. It wasn't the biggest of classrooms. All classrooms, well, most classrooms in that school at the time, they had like, for privacy, you had like a roller blind, and that would be down, the door would be locked, and you know, I was his oyster, I suppose.
How long were you in that situation for, Darren? You said 1 year?
I was with Mr. Flavin. It was roughly about 14 months. 14 months. But what I was doing in and out of, there was a lot of times when I didn't want to go to school, and I couldn't cope with going to school because of the pain. And I used to truant from school, as in truant means, not turn up from school. I would go off with friends, or even go off on my own to a lake and have a swim in the summer and stuff, because I just didn't want it anymore. I just didn't. It was like really, really, really painful. I didn't. I found it hard to sit down. I found it hard to concentrate. And I was losing trust with people as well. So I suppose, I kind of truant with a couple of friends who I could trust, or 60% of the time was on my own, because I felt safe on my own. I felt that, well, if I went to a certain place and no one could get near me, I wouldn't get abused that day. And after a couple of weeks of truanting and going to school, being raped, then not going the next day and truanting, we had what we call in the UK here, we had a truancy officer that would pay you a visit to your house, ask why Darren hadn't been at school. My parents didn't know I was truanting from school, so I would come home from either truanting or coming home from school being raped, to be beat by my dad for not going to school. So I was coming home being beat. I was going to school being raped. If I didn't go to school, I felt safe. But when I came home, I got beat. So whichever way I looked and whichever way I turned, I just had no choice. Then after a few weeks of this going on, myself and the mum got summoned to a place in Bristol called Avon House North, and it was kind of like, it was like a last step. You had to go down. They asked you a lot of questions as to why you weren't going to school. And when I actually tried to open up about I didn't want to go to school, I felt safer truancy, because I was having things done to me by a teacher, and they completely didn't want to know. The minute I mentioned a teacher, before I could even say his name, the meeting was shut down there and then. They did not want to know. And they told me that if I was to keep my mouth shut, that this wouldn't go any further. And they threatened me by saying that today, if I keep quiet, I wouldn't be going into care. Whereas if I keep talking, I'd be going into care. So basically, it was like a bribe to say, shut your mouth. This is in the 80s, so this was in 1982. And so I agreed that I'd go back to school. I had to go back the next day to see the headmaster, and lo and behold, he said, because of my truancy, I'd have to go to rescue unit. And I just thought, oh no. Basically got frog marched there, but luckily for me, at that precise moment when I got in there was about 3 lads in there. And I could see Mr. Flavin's eyes kind of light up as I walked in, but I felt safe for a minute because there was lads there. Because after Avon House, they said, look, if you throw him from school again, you will be going into care. If you go to school, it won't happen. So I went back to school, gone in, seen Mr. Flavin. Within an hour, I'd say an hour and 20 minutes, he had sent these boys back to their classroom. And I just thought, here we go, not again. I literally thought these lads were staying with me, and I was wrong again. The door got locked, the blind came down. I don't know if somebody had said that I'd mentioned sexual abuse to my teacher, but my God, I wish I'd kept my mouth shut, because that was just horrific. Then he really, really, really hurt me. He really did. So I'm not after sympathy. I'm just telling the truth, But he really, really, really did. He really went to town. That was the most horrific rape from him I ever had in my entire life. The brutality. it was horrible. And this went on again for a couple of weeks. And then I started truanting from school again. But they were quick with the truancy. I must have truanted for about a week and a half. And they come back round to mum's house, mum and dad's the truancy officer, and they give us a summons to a juvenile court in Bristol. And the summons was for Tuesday, the 2nd of the 6th, 1982. So it was Tuesday, June the 2nd, 1982, to appear at 10:30 in the morning for court for not going to school. So we got summons. Me and mum went down with our old neighbour. We had to wait a few hours in the waiting room, and I eventually got called in. And when I got called in, I had to sit in front of mum, but in front of a bench. And I didn't really know what was going on because I kind of switched off in my head because I didn't understand what the people were saying. We came from a door on the left, but as we had to leave before they stopped speaking, I can remember mum behind me crying. I was thinking, what's going on? What's going on? And as we were told we could leave, I kind of motioned to the left-hand side of the door we came in, but we were taken to the right-hand side. I think where I just switched off throughout the court case and what was going on, I actually got that day a 4.5 year approved care sentence, which was an approved school order for 4.5 years, which meant that I had to stay in that place for four. I went there on the 2nd of the 6th, 1982, and I left there in May 1986. So I did just under 4 years. And you kind of go out the back. I didn't know what was going on. Mum was really, really upset. And it was sad, really, because it was the only time that my mum ever told me in my life that as she had to put me into a room to say goodbye, that she, kissed me. She told me to be brave, and she told me that she loved me. And my mum walked out, and I didn't see her for a while then. And it was horrible. It was a horrible experience because, there was a couple of other lads that were obviously had been sentenced to the same place as me that day that were waiting for transportation, and they obviously had then been left on their own. So, like little cries, like whimpering from lads. And I was just like really upset, I didn't want my mum to leave me. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't re-register that I'd just been given 4.5 years for a non-violent, a non-criminal offence. I didn't commit any crime. The only crime I committed was not going to school because I just couldn't take being raped anymore. And we were then called out by our names to some chaps in suits, and it's hard to, it's not like we were given like these kiddie cuffs. It was myself, I'd never forget their names, Joe Hill and Anthony Lugo, all got sentenced to a approved school order that same day. They kind of took us out to the court. We had cuffs on your little hands to kind of like link us together so we couldn't run off. But I didn't want to run off. I just wanted to go in. I just wanted to be with mum. And then we were taken from the court out, like the juvenile court, into a van, and we were taken up to a place called Freeways up in Bath, Aldfroom Road, 181. And when we got there, that's when literally everything started. That's when, if whatever happened at school was nothing compared to what was awaiting for me there. So that was the day that, for me, life changed. Everything changed in my life, Addy. I was given a big big approved school sentence. And I was, taken from my mum, and I was placed into what they call the approved school system. Yeah.
Well, you're getting support here from viewers. Darren, we got
Yes.
Autumn sending blessings. The courts are totally corrupt. And Dolly too, Vanda, Darren, you're very brave. We are supporting you.
Thank you.
People are watching and supporting Darren. Why did it get worse? Can you go into that?
Yeah, like I said, I'll go through it. I've got nothing to hide. Basically, the day we got there, it was a Tuesday afternoon. It was a summer, so like here in the UK, June's a very hot time for us guys here. The weather was glorious. We've pulled up, we've got out the van, and with Freeways, it was like a big manor house, but it was like it was like what they call back then, like it was like a semi-secure unit. And we were taken in, little bracelets were taken off us. We were lined up. We were inducted outside the, no, we were inducted in the office. We were taken in, but we were inducted and, told what was expected of us. We were given, we were to give all our details over. We were shown around the home. We were shown where our beds were. We were shown about, the activities we'd be getting involved in, where you'd be going for food, where you'd go for a bath, what you could and couldn't do. And all I really wanted to do at that time was just ring my mum. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to be home to protect my mum. And then we were taken to meet the other kids. It was a mixed home. Excuse me, Eddie. But we didn't really see a lot of there was girls at one end, but we didn't really see them. We didn't really, very rarely see them, very rarely. Even in class, they would be in the same class, but they were kind of like pushed to one side. So you never had anything to do with the girls. And the girls were at one end and the boys were at the other end. And it was on the first day again, when after you've had tea and stuff and you call down to the office and they ask you, I suppose, the key question, who do you love the most? And it was the way they said it, which I never forgot. Who do you love the most? Do you love mummy or daddy? I thought, well, I generally use the phrase mum and dad. And I said, I love mum. And he said, why do you love mum? I said, well, because I'm scared for my mum because I'm not with her at the moment. My dad beats my mum. Not that I could do anything against my dad, because, that I just couldn't protect my mum. I wanted to be by my mum and I miss my mum. And they said, well, you don't love your dad because your dad beats your mum. I said, no, I hate my dad because of what he does to my mum. And so literally in a way, they know that you're going to protect one and two of your parents, but they're pretty damn sure of you are going to protect. You're kind of left, you're let out to do what you got to do. You meet the other lads that same day, you have your food, you go and get yourself sorted out with your bed packs and whatever you need to do. And then, you come like I think it's like 8 hours, you get yourself ready for bed. But on your first night, everybody has to go through an initiation. It's called first night beats. When if you're like the first one there on your own, or if you come in a pack of 3, you have to lay on your bed with your underpants on, with nothing else. And what the other lads have to do from the other 2 dormitories is you put like heavy obstacles or articles in a pillowcase. It doesn't last for long. It lasts like 2-3 minutes, but you've got a first night beats. You've got, everybody has to, it's like an initiation. You have to like have the first night beats. And it was kind of like, you've had your beats, you're upset, you're crying because you're missing your mum. Not my dad, but my mum. I was crying because I was confused. And even at that time, I didn't really register that I'd been with these people for 4 years. I was kind of thinking, I don't know how long, because I was young. I was very uneducated, sorry, as you can tell now. I was, one of the brightest of kids. And then you've had the first night beats and you've gone to bed, and what you get on both sides of the dorm, you had like a head like dorm boy, and our head dorm boy for us was a guy called John Barcham. He was a lot older than us. He was about 17, 18, and he kind of came into our dormitory. The only thing, when I say it was lucky, the lads I came with, I was in the same dormitory as them. And he kind of told us to get out of bed and to follow like John Beecham. And he took us down the stairs to what we saw that day, and what we sat in for a bit was the TV room. And we were walked into the TV room, and there was 2 members of staff there. There was John Turner, who was the head of Freeways, big ginger-haired guy with like squared like thick glasses. Always smelled of like pipe tobacco and always smelled horrible. And Clive, the van driver, who I got to know as Clive the van driver because he always drove the minibus when he used to take us out and do things. So, but I didn't know the other elderly gentlemen. Didn't know who they were. Didn't know what they were doing there. I didn't know what we were doing there. I didn't know why we were taken down. And we were kind of like taken to each person, and I didn't know what was going on. And they kind of pulled your underpants down and they felt you, and oh god, yeah, they done things to us, but not sexually at that moment. They, I don't know if you can say it on here. It's allowed, they kind of like they masturbated us as kids, and am I allowed to say things, Addy? Am I allowed to go into detail, or
Yes, of course, Darren. Yeah, you can get as
sorry?
explicit as you want.
Okay, and whilst pushing her fingers up inside your backside. So I'm very, very confused at that time. But it just didn't go to one you went to. You were past a different gentleman. Then, once they finished, basically, you were led to your bed. Very, very, very confused. I'm thinking, I've just had this sort of thing in school. I've come here, this is my first ever day. What is going on? And when that night you've gone in bed, you're trying to sleep, or you can't sleep because people are crying. You can hear other kids moaning and groaning, lots of cries at night. I didn't really know what was going on, but I was just too upset because I was missing my mum. Just had things done to me in a TV room. Been beat up that day because of your first day beats, but that you accept. And it was like the man that asked me questions about who I love with mummy or daddy had just done things to me, along with other gentlemen. I didn't sleep. You don't sleep because you're kind of always weary because there was a lot of silent cry, not silent, but there was a few cries. And you kind of wake up the next day, they introduce you to school, and I'm still confused. I'm thinking, crikey, what happened last night? This is not right. Um, you know, we were we'd done our bits and pieces in school. We'd done a full day in school. She couldn't concentrate at all, couldn't cope. I kept breaking down all day when in because the school was inside the home, like a big room, and it was horrible because it was like, even though it was warm outside, it was very cold inside, and none of us were speaking. It's like there was no atmosphere. Everybody was like completely shut off. And then we finished school that day. Then you go and have your food, and I suppose you call it playtime. You let talk to the other boys, but never the girls. You could never get to talk because they all seemed like really upset and crying. You could never really talk to them. Just want someone to talk to tell you you'd be all right, really. And then Addy, it's kind of like you've had your bath, and the first bath I had there was very, very unpleasant. It was very, very, very. That was that's why I've now got a phobia of baths. I really, really have. I've got a bad phobia of baths. I don't like them. Scare me sort of thing. It's like after school and after tea and after you play, you've gone to the baths were run, you've got in your bath and you've kind of led back because you're going to try and wash yourself. And what Ed Boy John Barton used to do was come in, push you under the water and pull your penis and masturbate you you didn't, it felt like you were drowning. It was horrible. And he'd let you come up for air, sorry. He'd let you come up for air. And you could just see in his eyes and he'd push you back under again. He would push your head up, but whilst masturbating you, then he would go. He would literally, and he was supposed to be like our friend. He was the one that we were told that if we had any problems, that John would look after us. So eventually got out of the bath, frightened. You get dried, you get in your jammies, you're told to go and get a drink before you go to bed and go to the toilet and stuff. Within, I think,
Darren, can you hear me, Darren? Shoot, we might have lost Mr. Jeffrey. Can you guys hear me okay, viewers? Dolly, Autumn, you guys can hear me okay? Is this my internet? What's going on? What is going on, people? Oh gosh, what is going on? Check. Can you guys hear me? Oh no, we lost him. Shoot. Okay, I'm gonna message him, guys. Hold on. Okay, let me go. It's probably connection. Okay, you can hear me, but Darren's gone. That's what I thought. Okay, I'm inviting him again, guys. It might have been his battery. Nancy, I can hear you. Thank you. Okay. They're all Satanists, evil fuckboys. Satanists. Fucking Satanists, dude. Wow, this is some really heavy stuff here, people. Thanks for listening. I messaged Mr. Jeffrey on Facebook, just waiting to hear a reply. Hopefully it isn't the powers that be trying to prevent this information getting out, but nothing is off the table anymore, guys. It's 2020. Nothing is off the table. I sent him the link, but he may have lost connection to. It could be connection or battery, or it could be the powers that be. I don't know. But we are hearing today from Darren Leighton Jeffrey. He is a survivor of satanic ritual abuse, rape, and sexual molestation as a child. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will find out. I will ask him that. I need water. Hopefully he comes back. I'm gonna stay on as long as I can because I want to hear from him, and I know you guys do too. But hopefully everyone's doing okay dealing with this information out there. It's pretty dark, very dark, extremely dark. I mean, this is something that it's so clear cut to me, morally and ethically. It's about as black and white of an issue as I can think of. Okay. All right, guys. Did Darren say if he's... I'm gonna use the bathroom quick. I'll be right back. I'm putting some music for you guys. Okay, guys. People are still there. No idea what's going on with Facebook. It's not working for me. I mean, it's working for me, but like Messenger is not working at all. I don't know why that is. And that's how I was in touch with Darren. I don't have his phone number, and I don't have any other contact info. So I actually can't get in touch with him right now. We will be talking again soon. I hope it's not censorship. I hope Facebook didn't shut down my page. That would really suck and make things way more difficult. Anyways, we'll be back during Jeffrey at some point. I don't know if it's going to be later tonight or tomorrow, but he will be back soon talking. I'm going to be out and about tonight in Eugene. I'll be going live with my Facebook. I'll just use my phone, and I'll also have my GoPro body cam on me as well. I'll post the GoPro videos tomorrow. The cell phone will be a live stream. So stay safe tonight, anyone who's in a big city or otherwise. Until next time, stay frosty.